All right, let's talk about the Edgedancers. This is going to be spoilers for Stormlight up through Rhythm of War. The Edgedancers are the order among the Knights Radiant who were most known as the battlefield medics, the healers. That's because they had access both to abrasion, meaning that they could make the friction force on their feet go up or down, and progression, meaning that they can provide healing, growth, and regrowth, which we'll talk about those in a minute. But first, let's talk about their ideals. The first is the same for all of the Orders of Radiance: life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. Their second ideal, revealed to us in the interlude that introduces us to Lift, is I will remember those who have been forgotten. We see this throughout the series as one of the pinnacle themes. You know, you've got the Almighty who's been forgotten. You have Dalinar who's lost his place among the high princes. You have heralds who have been forgotten. A lot of things have been forgotten, and we need Edgedancers to help us remember them. And of course, my favorite little boy, Adolin, has done a great job as he's been slowly kind of backwards bonding Maya of living up to that ideal. The third ideal of the Edgedancers, which does give them their shard blade, along with most orders we've seen so far, is I will listen to those who have been ignored. And in that case, we have the very poignant example of Lift listening to Nail after he has been ignored for so long, so very worried about the return of the Voidbringers. She listens to him, swears that ideal, brings him just a little bit closer to the spiritual realm, restoring a little bit of his sanity, enough for him to stop trying to kill Radiance. Unfortunately, he then immediately starts trying to kill all the humans and joining with the Singers. But, you know, that's another day, another book. And that's what we know so far in terms of the ideals. I've not got a video out yet as to the fourth or fifth ideal speculation for the Edgedancers. Personally, I think it's going to have something to do with using what they've remembered and listened. I think that, you know, it would be a good partnership with the therapy work that Kaladin's doing, to remember the forgotten, to listen to the ignored, and then to do something about it. Maybe it's to speak on their behalf. Maybe it is to help those that they've listened to. I'm not sure, but let's talk about their powers for a minute. So abrasion gives them the ability to make things a lot more abrasive, meaning that the force of friction increases exponentially. It's a lot harder to slide, or the opposite. Force of friction goes way down, it's a lot easier to slide. So we often see that used to reduce the force of friction to allow people to be skating across battlefields quickly. But you can do the opposite. You can suddenly make it a lot harder for someone to slide or move through terrain because their feet would kind of just catch as they tried to walk around. Then you've got progression, which is, in my book, a magic system that, if Brandon takes it in that direction, has some very scary possibilities. And I might do a video later that really focuses in on some of those. But just as a highlight, you know, growth does not have to be positive. Cancer is a growth. If you are able to invest someone with Stormlight mid-battle, and suddenly you're infusing them and their fingernails are growing super long, now they can't hold their sword, or perhaps their hair grows in front of their face and suddenly they can't see very well. There's a lot of very interesting, silly ways that you could use that power. And then, you know, on the more positive side, you know, could you set up some kind of field around a training camp with growth, such that trainees and those learning are able to develop their skills and grow muscle and grow stronger much faster because the investiture is helping them to grow faster. We know that works with plants because they're using investiture to cause the plants to grow more easily and more powerfully. We see Lift grow a tree up to be able to use that as a ladder in Edgedancer. And so I think it'd be really interesting to continue to see growth and regrowth used for more than just let me heal you, let me restore you kind of thing. As a quick note with that, you know, the healing is not all encompassing. Someone like Lopin, who never really saw himself as without an arm, that'll regrow an arm. Someone like Risen, who's come to accept that she's in a wheelchair, regrowth is not going to fix that because her mind has already accepted that that's part of her identity. We see investiture being used in the Cosmere to heal people, most often to bring their physical in line with their cognitive. And you need something special to be able to move past that. That does mean, though, that if you have perhaps a gender identity that's different than your physical, that growth regrowth would be able to align that to your cognitive identity. So a lot of interesting options, perhaps even maybe some disciplines later on that would cause you to believe something about yourself, or say if you mix in mild magic spoilers for Mistborn, but if you mixed in some feruchemy to be able to store your identity, or maybe draw out the identity of someone else, could you be healed while you were tapping someone else's identity to then be able to be restored to their ability? Say you've lost an arm for a long time, but you store Lopin's identity in a metal mind, and then you draw that out with an unkeyed metal mind, and all of a sudden you can be healed to back to 2 arms, because Lopin would be able to be healed back to 2 arms. But yeah, that's the Edgedancers. Lift is our most famous example of that. Adolin is our Edgedancer in name only at the moment. But I'm looking forward to seeing more of the Edgedancers and their ideals. I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts about the 4th or 5th ideals of the Edgedancers.